Hello, all, and welcome to our second meeting covering special guests, also known as How to Not Fangirl with Our Special Guests, also known as Their People Too. Some abbreviations that you'll see throughout this presentation to help make things a little bit easier on all of us are SG, standing for Special Guests, referring to all of our special guests as a whole, VA for Voice Actors, and CG referring to our cosplay guests. Some important things to note. The special guests, especially the voice actors, are taken care of primarily by Kat, our special guest coordinator, and Dylan, our cosplay coordinator, as well as their assistants. They will be primarily seeing to the needs of our special guests throughout the weekend and making sure that they stay on schedule and are cared for. This doesn't mean, however, that we won't ask our volunteers to help out with them throughout the weekend as well. If you are interested in the future in working directly with the special guests as an assistant, some primary things that we ask of you are that you have a driver's license and access to a car for the weekend in case our special guests need help with transportation. We ask that you do feel confident in gently bossing around and managing someone who you might be starstruck by. If you are interested in working with the special guests, please send an email to me or Kat at a later date. We will also be in the next year following this year's convention, opening up applications for assistant positions to help work with the special guests. Our voice actors by far are our most popular special guests, and they do require constant supervision throughout the weekend. Our cosplay guests are typically pretty self-efficient. They don't tend to need an assistant with them as a one-to-one to support for the whole weekend. However, of course, they do like to still be checked in on and felt like they are being supported. When it comes to keeping our special guests comfortable, while our attendees are here to have a fun, exciting weekend, our special guests, especially the voice actors, are here to work. Sometimes you'll even notice that the voice actors during their downtime between panels will be doing some voice work while at the convention. Some things to keep in mind to help things run smoothly. First and foremost, be respectful. If you see a special guest sitting silently in a corner or with some headphones in, just let them be. They do need time to decompress themselves. And if they want to socialize, they are more than happy to come up to you and strike up a conversation, and they love doing so. Second, be calm. When you're introduced to a special guest, please be calm when you are greeting them. Of course, tell them you are happy to meet them. If you have a particular piece of work that they've done that means a lot to you, absolutely go ahead and say, hey, I love the way that you brought this character to life, or I love the work that you did in this piece. You just don't want to start screaming or having theatrics or overexcitement because they will get a lot of that throughout this weekend. And thirdly, be helpful. If you aren't busy and a special guest asks you for assistance, if you have the capacity to do so, go ahead and help them out. Or if somebody else asks, hey, can you run this bottle of water out to this special guest while you're on your way up to this next floor anyway? If you have the capacity to do so, go ahead and be like, yeah, bring them a bottle of water. Even the smallest seemingly tasks can make a big difference throughout the course of the weekend. That being said, if you're really busy and you just can't, or if it's something like leaving the convention center, feel free to radio in on the special guest channel on a headset and let the special guest people know, hey, such and such needs help with this. Is anybody available to do that? And they'll take care of it for you. When it comes to keeping our special guests safe, our attendees are a very excitable group. Sometimes, if they find that their special guest is all alone without a staff member or a handler with them, they may have a tendency to accidentally corner the special guest. And this is not necessarily a hypothetical situation. Whenever Micah Solusod first came to our convention, right after the premiering of Death Note, Micah was just walking through the convention center without his minion assistant with him. And some attendees noticed him and went and struck up a conversation. And then more attendees noticed and joined in the conversation. And this turned into Micah being genuinely in a corner surrounded by attendees. This is something that we now call Situation Micah, and is also an example of why our voice actors are not to be alone on the floor in the convention center. If you happen to find a voice actor walking around alone, if you have a headset, go ahead and call it in on the special guest channel. Just kind of cue them in and be like, hey, I noticed that this voice actor is currently wandering around alone. Should there be an assistant with them? If you don't have a headset, just find a staff member, let them know, and they'll report it for you. If you find a voice actor in a situation, Micah, first and foremost, report it as above. If you are in your uniform, you're wearing your minion shirt and your minion badge, and the situation seems especially dire, the voice actor looks like they really want to get out of that situation right now, and you feel comfortable doing so, use the power that is your minion badge to politely push your way through the crowd, make your way up to the voice actor, and say something like, oh, hey, there you are. Dylan is looking for you, or Kat is looking for you. And then gently guide them out of the crowd and back to a quieter area, such as the minion lair, or towards the room that we'll have set up specifically for the special guests. This allows you to very gently remove the voice actor from the situation while making it seem to the attendees like nothing is out of the ordinary. When it comes to keeping line movings, as we discussed in the previous meeting, one of the jobs that you may be asked to help with is line herding, or making sure that when there is a line of attendees for anything, that they're staying lined up nice, neat, and orderly, that they are staying behaved well in line, and that the line is moving efficiently. While the voice actors will be at their tables at a variety of times, sometimes they could get a little swamped. Should that start to happen, one thing that's very important is to keep the line from bunching up. Don't be afraid to embrace your inner theater child and to project your voice through the convention space to encourage and remind the attendees to stay in an orderly line. Make sure that any attendees who are getting autographs only have a few items to sign and have them out before they approach. We'll also have a printed document in the minion layer explaining the guidelines that we have for autographs, including what items may or may not be prohibited. A general rule of thumb, though, is that if an item that an attendee would like to have autographed would be considered 18 plus, that is not an appropriate item to be autographed. If the special guest is allowing photos, make sure that the attendee hands you their camera or phone before they approach the special guest. You can even ask whenever there may be the next one or two people to go up. So that way you can be able to get their photo quickly and then send them back along their way. If that special guest is not allowing photos or they're not allowing photos at that time, let attendees know in advance, especially if you see them with their phone or camera out. That way they don't end up giving the photo request and then the special guest has to turn them down. You can absolutely, though, if you know that photos will be allowed at a later time with that special guest, feel free to just let them know, hey, we're not doing photos right now. However, feel free to return at this time and we can get that photo for you. If an attendee is causing a disturbance and reminders of appropriate behavior are not being adhered to, You do have the ability to ask somebody to leave the line and return at a later time when they are feeling ready to follow our guidelines. If you don't feel comfortable removing somebody, though, feel free to call it in over the headset and a staff member will come and help you out. And of course, just keep the line moving quickly. Of course, our attendees might want to sometimes have a very detailed conversation with their favorite special guest. That's totally understandable. However, if there's a line behind them and there's 10 other excited attendees waiting to also talk to the special guest, that might not be the time to start up an hour-long conversation going into details about your favorite scene from their recent production. Encourage them to politely wrap up the conversation and let them know that they're always welcome to return back to the table later on whenever it's a little less busy. And of course, our special guests are humans, and with every human, there may sometimes be a little bit of a darker side. People are varied, people have different personalities, not everybody gets along with everyone else, and that's okay. Should you hear a special guest gossiping or spreading rumors about another special guest or somebody else in their related industry, just ignore it. Do not pass along any gossip or rumors that you hear them talking about at all. If people start hearing that we spread these rumors, then guests won't want to work with us. If a special guest seems like they're coming across a bit short or a bit rude with you, try not to take it fully to heart. They are under a lot of stress. That being said, don't be afraid to still come and talk it out with myself, Matt, Kat, or Dylan. Especially if a special guest has said something outright hurtful or that outright stresses you, please come and tell us. Because your health and feelings do matter to us just as much as theirs do. So, what do you get out of working with a special guest like this? You get rare access to our special guests that the attendees don't. You get to see them during their downtime, whenever they drop their public mask, and whenever they're just chilling and hanging out. As long as you act like a normal human being and treat them like a normal human being, they will treat you the exact same way. This also includes that you might get to hear some hilarious stories. You might get to hear about some cool little things that happened behind the scenes whenever they were recording your favorite scene. You might not have to wait in line to get an autograph. They might sign things for you in the minion layer. You'll get some amazing stories out of this whole weekend. You just have to remember that they are people too. And then this brings us to the end of our meeting covering special guests and how to behave around them and how to handle situations with them. Thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to have a wonderful weekend with you.